The money shot is that one shot that we can only shoot one time. You do not get a second take at that. It's when you spunk everywhere, basically. This can be over the face, over the boobs, over the buttocks. There's no aim involved when you come. Am I right, guys? Hi, my name's Dick Bush, and for 18 years I've been a porn director. Well, today I'm going to answer some questions, your questions from the honesty box. Let's see what we've got first. Okay. How did you get your job as a porn director? Well, let me tell you, I was 25 years old. I had just graduated from the London Film School, and a colleague of mine said, hey, do you want to come for an interview for an assistant editor job at this porn production place where he was working? And I was like, well, why should I work at a porn place? And he said, come along, you won't get the job, but it'll be good to have an interview. And I said, sure. And I accidentally got the job. And I thought I'd end up working there for a couple of years. And within a couple of weeks, I was filming. And then a couple of months I was directing, and 18 years has gone by and I'm still in the industry somehow. Okay. What does a porn director actually do? Well, you might think that I just tell people to have sex and just keep going. It's a little bit more than that, especially the kind of movies that I make. We make a lot of parodies, a lot of storylines, so there is some actual filmmaking going on. And when it comes to the sex, I will occasionally sort of tell them, could you just move your leg? Could you just open up a little bit? You don't want people just sort of too far close in. That's basically what I do. Does penis size matter? Kinda does in the porn industry. Basically, if you think about it, if you're in missionary position, and you have a kind of smallish size penis, and you're just right in there, the camera can't see what's going on. But if you're kind of big, you can just sort of awkwardly move it out like this, and so you're kind of sideways. We want to see the side of the going in to that. And it just helps with positions. You can get into all kinds of weird positions with a bigger penis. Is Dick Bush your real name? No, actually, my real name is Montague. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, actually, Richard Bush. I was christened. So it was destiny. They said, look, you need a porn name if your name's gonna be on the credit. What do you want it to be? And I was like, wow, okay, it's probably got to be Dick something because my name is Rick. And I was like, Dick Cannon. Dick and Bush, Dick and Bush, and they're like, you got to go with Dick Bush. This is the reason we hired you. So I was like, okay, Dick Bush. Didn't think it would stick. What is a fluffer? A fluffer is the term for someone who will manually masturbate a man in between takes to keep him hard. Doesn't actually exist. Maybe it did in the 1970s when they're shooting on film and they're like, okay, we've got to change this roll of film. It takes 5 minutes to take this off and put a new one on. Keep him hard. And they'll get someone to come in. But it's kind of a bit of a myth. It probably did exist back in those days, but it's not a modern thing, really. Where do you get inspiration for your films? Well, I watch a lot of films, pretty much everything. I think, how do we turn this into porn? I'm playing Monopoly. How do we pornify this? Don't always do parodies. Sometimes we just come up with ideas, stepmom stuff tends to sell quite well. For some reason, people getting stuck in washing machines also sells quite well. I don't know why, but if something gets a lot of views, we tend to do a lot more of that kind of thing.
Why do people love washing machines?
I don't know. I think it's because everyone has a washing machine. And, and then there's like, oh, my stepsister who's really hot could get stuck in this thing. This is it's like you unlock a fantasy in people's brains or something. Can you identify an actor by their penis alone? Well, let's find out. Let's bring him in. Maybe some of them. Danny D especially, he's just got a very strange, massive penis, which is kind of slim at the base and then very wide as it goes up. Always spot Danny if you're scrolling online and suddenly a cock appears. Like, there's Danny, cannot masturbate to this scene. Why do porn stars make such weird noises? Because I tell them to. You know what? It's because if you're watching people have sex and it's silent, it's the most disturbing thing you will ever see in your life. We once did a scene with, we did GILF porn, Danny and this older lady, and she did not make any noises. She was not doing the typical, yeah, my p***. She was just silent, just kind of getting f***ed. And Danny was like, and looking up at all of us in the crew, and we're like, oh God, this is so weird. He felt so awkward doing this. Always make weird noises when you're having sex if you're being filmed, because it's too real otherwise, basically. How do you make the actors feel comfortable? It's mostly by having a bit of a laugh and not taking anything seriously, basically. We have a talent coordinator, someone who's there to be the performer's best friend and to get them whatever they want and to make sure they feel comfortable. And on those professional sets, we'll also go through a list of do's and don'ts, and we'll make sure that the other person says, yes, I'm okay, comfortable doing this, not comfortable doing that, and we'll make sure that we stick to those things. Often, if they've shot before, they're pretty comfortable and they know what they're doing. But it's a fun set. If Dick Bush is filming, it's going to be a fun set. Don't worry about it. How old were you when you first watched porn? Thing is, when I was younger, it wasn't really, it was more pictures and magazines that were the first sort of porn experience. I did have a Samantha Fox badge that I picked up when I was in the Cub Scouts. And I saw it, I was like, oh my God, they're selling? It was just one badge, a girl with her boobs out. It said Samantha Fox, it was a tiny little badge, just kind of flashing her boobs, denim jacket. I've had a fetish for denim jackets ever since for some reason. So that would have been, I don't know, 8 or 9. And then you gradually see magazines and then video. I remember watching my first porn VHS tape, which was, it belonged to the parents of a friend of mine. And we were having a party and they were like, let's go upstairs to my parents' room. They had this secret cupboard. I was like, look at these tapes. And I'm like, what? And we were putting them in and playing them. It's like, Jesus Christ, this is hardcore. This is mental. Your parents are epic. What's your favorite position to film? It's usually like this. Just kind of stood or squatting. But sex position, it's probably reverse cowgirl, which is often the most uncomfortable one for the guy and the girl, but it looks great on camera because they're both facing me. If a position feels uncomfortable for the performers, it usually looks great. What's a money shot? The money shot is that one shot that we can only shoot one time. You do not get a second take at that. It's when you everywhere, basically. This can be over the face, over the boobs, over the buttocks. We've even done some scenes where it's over the back, accidentally in people's eyes. It happens. There's no aim involved when you come. Am I right, guys? You never know where it's going to go, and inevitably it goes just full blast into their eyes. That's the money shot.
What happens if you miss the money shot?
I've only once half missed a money shot. A guy was getting himself ready, they were in position, and I was waiting there with the camera, not recording yet. Usually the guy will let me know, he'll go, yeah, 10 seconds. I'll go, cool, I'm rolling, ready when you are. And he's like, great. And I'm like, I think we're gonna have to fake it because I only really got the last few ropes that were coming out there. And he's like, okay. So we sort of MacGyvered this thing together where we had a tube going that he was holding underneath his and we had a little plunger thing going on filled with fake spunk, and he had that between his legs. And I got our production assistant to be on his knees right between the guy's buttocks holding this little squeezy thing and just going and he pretended it looked pretty good. Worst sex accident on set. Well, apart from some scuffed knees, it's probably involving during anal. They're the worst kind of accidents, especially if you're right there and filming. There was an incident where someone had just douched, which means shoving a whole load of water up inside your guts, and they didn't properly release all that water afterwards. And we were shooting a reverse cowgirl or a cowgirl position, anal, and as soon as it was unplugged, let's say, just a river of liquid just kind of sprayed out all over the guy's legs, all over the floor. That was something to behold. What are the biggest misconceptions about porn? Probably that you can do it. It's really difficult to do. For guys and girls, it takes a lot of courage to do that kind of thing. And for guys, I've worked with a lot of guys, a lot of professionals, a lot of amateurs, semi-professionals who try to do a scene and completely fail. People looking, you're like, please, just get an erection. Oh my God. It's a lot of pressure. About 1% of the male population, I reckon, could do that job. Have you ever been turned on at work? You know what? I have, especially when I first started. And I'm working with certain people, and maybe we've been flirting a little bit off set, and there's a little bit. As I've gotten older, I just kind of treat it as work, and I mostly just want to go home afterwards because I'm so tired, or I'm just more. I just want the lighting to be good, and I'm just concentrating on getting everything in focus, and telling them to move their hand and stuff. It's too much work to be turned on these days, to be honest. What's one film you'd love to turn into a porn film? Oh, wow, there are so many. I love superheroes, so I'd love to do more superhero stuff. I've done everything, I think. We've even done a musical. Part of me wanted to do a full musical epic movie. Never did that. I did one musical video with Rebecca Goodwin. We did The Little Spermaid, and I wrote a song for her to sing underwater. We got an actual singer to sing this song that she mimes to underwater, and it's so funny because because the plot is she rescues this pirate underwater, and then they're like flirting, they're about to have sex, and then he's like, where do I put my penis? She's wearing a whole kind of mermaid tail. There's like nowhere to go, and she gets all embarrassed, dives back in, and then sings underwater about wanting to have a vagina. And then magically she gets legs, she comes up, she's like, oh my God, I have a it's all I've ever wanted. And then they're able to have sex. It's beautiful. Has a porn star ever farted mid-scene? Yes, it's usually the girls though, and it's usually the guy causing them. Most out there kinks you've made porn about? You know what, people ask for foot-related stuff a lot, which I've never really got, the whole foot sexy thing. I think maybe that's a kind of Marmite thing, 50-50. Yeah, a lot of kinks out there. I think anything can be a kink if you try hard enough. What porn film title are you most proud of? Oh, porn film titles. There are so many. You know, for the longest time, for a good 10 years or so from when I started in the industry, they didn't do those witty pun-like titles. It was always, you know, Star Wars, a XXX parody, or The Terminator, a XXX parody, but I always thought that was boring. I thought the fun titles were the, you know, Edward Penis Hands. Does porn do more harm than good? I don't think so. I'm trying to think what harm professional porn would do. I don't know. In my experience, it's a good, healthy thing. Everyone watches porn, and especially if we're making fun porn, the kind of silly storyline stuff, which goes viral and everyone wants to share these kind of different ridiculous things that we've made. I think that's fun. How can that be harmful? Do your family know about your job? They do, yeah. I remember when I first got the job as an editor at Relish, I had to phone my mum and say, they've offered me a job. And she was like, oh my God, wow, so what do they do? And I said, well, they make porn. And I hear this little voice in the background say, Mummy, what is porn? And my mum says, Rick, your little sister's in the car. And she's like, what is porn? You're gonna have to explain that to her, Rick. So yeah, my whole family knows about my job. I'm sure my younger sisters are all embarrassed about it. I think my dad was just happy that I had a job straight out of the London Film School because he thought that he was going to be paying for me for the rest of his life. Luckily, it all worked out in the end.
How do you tell strangers or friends if they ask you what you do for work? Are you just straight up tell them?
Yeah, I'll just tell them. I'm just very, very honest about everything, really. What's the most unusual body fluid you've filmed? Well, how many body fluids are there? I have shot some alien scenes, and we've used goo and slime as weird bodily. Yeah, we shot a Rebecca Goodwin solo scene called Star Whores, and she's in a spaceship, and there's a big monster on the spaceship, and it spits slime at her and it covers her, and she's just covered in all this slime, and then she's jiggling her boobs, and that kind of placates it a little bit, and she plays with herself with a dildo and then fires it out of her and kills the monster. Can you be a feminist and work in this industry? I think so. I think right now, with the rise of OnlyFans and female models being their own boss and being in charge of what they put out there and how far they go with their bodies and what they're comfortable doing, they are in charge of themselves right now. And I think that is absolutely a feminist thing. I don't think you have to be against porn to be feminist. I don't think they're mutually exclusive at all. Do the audience care about storyline? I don't know. I also don't care. I really like shooting the storyline stuff. I love shooting the movies that we've made, Star Wars parodies, Power Ranger parodies, superhero stuff. It's just fun. I would not be doing this job if all I was doing was filming people. That's boring, and I get to play with guns and costumes and cool locations and lighting. I love lighting stuff. Often when I'm showing people my movies, I will be like, oh, check out the lighting in this shot. And they're like, yeah, he's got his dick in a girl. I'm like, what? Oh, yeah. Has OnlyFans helped or hurt the porn industry? Hurt is a weird word to use because it's all about change and evolution, and porn changes. When I first started in the industry, it was 2006, and porn was on the internet, but you had to wait a little bit. Those videos would take a while to download. Porn right now isn't just videos, it isn't just footage, it isn't just watching something, it's having a personal connection with a specific model chatting to her, sexting with them. Rebecca Goodwin, who I work with on her OnlyFans, she'll do sexting. So in the evenings, she will chat with her fans and say, hey, if you tip me a little something, I will send you a live video of me. And it's live. It's like, it's proper. It's a lot more than just watching a video. There's something very, very personal and very, very addictive about it. Weirdest thing that happens on a porn set. Sometimes I have looked up from the camera at what I'm filming. So I'm there, I'm filming, I look up and I'm like, we've got a girl, she's dressed like a cat, she's got full-on cat makeup on, and she's in a cage because we're doing the circus thing, and there's a guy who's dressed like a demonic angel plowing away at her, and I just think this is the weirdest job. No other job would this would be illegal anywhere else.
Long ones, short ones, thick, short ones, thin, tall ones, you know. I don't know, 6 inches that I can get my fingers round.